Um, okay, so this will get started then. How are you? Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm very well. We're just right in the middle of rehearsals for the new tour. So
Ah, brilliant, brilliant. So, yeah, this is the link here with Barry Fratelli. So, you're on to your new album. It was
yeah,
released the 13th of October,
it
called
was.
We Need Medicine. Um, have you enjoyed the reception to it so far? Has it been alright?
Yeah, well, I mean the reception has been great.
Yeah,
It sort of changes for us when we get out and start playing it live. I guess that's when we'll start to really appreciate it. But
yeah,
I don't personally, I don't tend to look at reviews or anything like that. But I mean, from what I've heard so far, everybody's quite excited about it, and on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. So,
brilliant.
so yeah, it's been good.
Good, good. Obviously you've had a 4 year hiatus and you've all kind of pursued solo projects.
Yeah.
What have you learnt about yourself in that time, and how has it changed the dynamic of the group coming back in and going on to this new album?
I don't think I could probably say what we've learned
Yeah,
in such a short space of time, but I mean, time definitely does change things. You know, it
yeah,
changes you as people and as musicians. And when we got back together, it was nice to breathe a bit of new life back into the older tracks. You know,
yeah.
and to hear them sort of refreshed and re-geared. So that's definitely been one of the bonuses about it. So.
Brilliant. What have you brought different to the album this time then? What's changed, if
Um,
anything?
Nothing's changed, you know. It's the same. It's all the same ingredients. It's the same musicians, the same songwriter.
Yeah,
We brought in a friend of ours who produced the record with John.
yeah,
You know, so I guess there was some sonic changes. If that makes sense about how we wanted certain things to sound and whatnot. But it's all basically the same stuff, just thrown into the pot, and what comes out the other side still sounds like the Fratellis,
yeah.
albeit 4 or 5 years later. So.
Brilliant. You've had some good hits, and obviously Chelsea Dagger is kind of that song which kind of resonates most, really, from all your albums.
Yeah.
What's it like to see a song of yours go on and to kind of define and eternalize itself like that? It must be quite proud thing to kind of see, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we at the time when that song was written and played and put on the album, and it was just another song, you know.
Yeah,
But it did go on to become, well, to not belong to us anymore. Once it was out there, it took on a life of its own. But
definitely. Yeah,
it's lovely when people say it's. I mean, it's embedded itself in indie music culture, you know, and
yeah,
that's something we weren't expecting. So it's
brilliant.
a bonus, you know, and it's probably going to outlive me. And
Yeah,
hopefully there'll be some wee guy learning how to play it in 2045, you know,
yeah,
which is a
brilliant.
great thing, man. It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the album We Need Medicine. What's kind of the concept for the album?
No concept, man. I mean,
Yeah,
as I said, we are a rock and roll band.
yeah,
Whenever we didn't, we haven't pretended to be anything other than that.
yeah,
Since we started out, it's certainly not a concept album. It's just some extremely good songs placed in an extremely good order,
yeah,
and it comes out to sound like an album. I
brilliant.
guess, if anything, we are very much an album band. You know, we believe
Yeah,
a body of work should have a start, a middle, and an end. Maybe a lot of bands don't think like that these days because of the whole, you know, can buy a track here and a track there off a record rather than sitting down and listening to it from start to finish.
yeah,
You know, we're always going to have a song in mind to start a record and one to start side two, you know, and one to end it. So
that's great. How did the album come together? Was it easy after the time you spent out for the band to kind of reunite, back together, and create this album?
yeah, it was very easy. It was, I guess, it was easier than a lot of us were expecting. You know,
Yeah,
it was all very comfortable, and I mean, we got together and we done some live shows first before we went into records. You know, so
yeah,
we were comfortable in each other's company again and in our own skin, and then that's the natural progression. Once you realise you can still do it and people still care,
Yeah.
to go into a room and make some new music. But it was very liberating actually, because there's no record label at the time. There was
Right.
no management. It was literally just us in a room, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody was expecting it, so
That's brilliant.
we sort of done it to please ourselves, you know,
Yeah.
and we're quite happy that other people seem to be enjoying it. So.
Yeah. The album definitely is kind of back to your roots. It's got that sound which people are familiar with.
Yeah.
It's what kind of, is there any kind of musical influences that you've had on this album? What have you been listening to kind of influence it in any way?
I don't think the three of us are listening to so much varied stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that sort of comes out in the end result. But like I said, it's all just rock and roll music at the end of the day. There's been no particular new band that somebody's been obsessed with, and it's shaped the sound of this record or anything, you know. It's just we're a three-piece rock and roll band, so it's always going to sound a bit like that anyway, and we're certainly not going to change direction and try and be something that we're not, you know.
For the album, you've got a tour coming up, which is very exciting. For someone who's never seen you live before, what can they expect from your gig?
It might be quite loud.
Yeah.
It might be quite fast-paced, and I don't know. I'd like to think we put on a really good rock and roll show. All gigs, whatever band it is, depends on the crowd, I think, you know.
Yeah.
The audience makes any gig, whatever it is. If the audience kick off, then the bands feed off that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it becomes a really good night. But
Yeah.
I don't think many people have went home dissatisfied from a Fratelli's gig. So
No.
if we can keep that up, then we're doing something right. So.
It's great. You've toured quite a bit before. Are you excited to reunite and tour again? Is it something you enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where we are a live band, you know, as much as we... It's always nice in the studio putting new things together, but we're not the sort of band that would take 2 years to record an album.
No.
I think the new one was done in about 4 weeks in total, you know.
Right.
So live is the only place where we have got control over things, you know, because once you record an album and put it out, there's all mannerisms of other people get involved, and PR people and pluggers and everything like that. So playing live on a stage is the thing that we do best, you know. That's where we get to have a say in things and see how it goes, you know.
Yeah, all of our Lincoln listeners, they'll be able to see you at the Lincoln Engine Shed on the 18th of November. Have you ever been to Lincoln before?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. In fact, we played the Lincoln Engine Shed before. So.
Yeah. Lincoln's got quite a big student population. As you said about crowds before, is there any particular crowd you enjoy to perform to most?
No, anyone in particular. Like I said,
Yeah.
a crowd can make or break a gig, you know. It's always nice playing in Scotland
Yeah.
and Glasgow specifically because it's a hometown show.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've had ruckus audiences all over the world, so...
Yeah.
You know, we're going back to America next week, actually.
Yeah.
Gigs in places like New York and Boston, where there's a big kind of Scottish-Irish contingent. They always tend to be absolutely insane, so it'll be nice to kick off there again.
You said about Glasgow, you'll be ending that leg of the tour there. What's it like to perform to a home crowd?
It's fantastic, but I always find it quite nerve-wracking because generally my mum's in the crowd, things like that, you know. It's not you can't just go on and do your thing because you're aware that, you know, all your friends and family are there, so it gives it a whole new spin on the other gigs that you've been doing. Yeah. But ultimately, it's nice to end up in Glasgow. It's there's that whole romantic thing about, you know, coming back and a big homecoming and blah blah. But it generally goes by in a flash. Yeah. And you realise you're at the end of the gig having a drink, you know.
Yeah. Well, Barry, it's been brilliant talking to you. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Great album. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, man.
Bye.
Cheers.